back. Okay, so I'm so glad you guys enjoyed the video for the new Stardust Assault Mode deck profile. And if you checked it on Chris Cards on Brian and Logan's channel, I posted up the deck list on there. But I already changed it, and I'm already liking the new sequence because in the current sequence, it's you don't do the librarian and you don't draw as much. But in this build, it's oh my god, it's so cool. This game was insane. Watch. I'll let you guys. I'll just go ahead and watch it because it was crazy. It was like I'm planning its Pendulum, right? Okay, so I draw, and I'm like, oh, this hand's pretty damn good if I went first. I'm testing the Dawnwalker because of the quick play spell that I mentioned earlier in the other before the balanced. I mentioned this guy with the quick play spell. And it's really good because you can get an instant assault mode on your turn, and then have the second assault mode on their turn, which is really good. Okay, so let's go ahead and he activates that, activate scale, and at this point I have an idea of what this deck's meant to be doing. He's just trying to generate a bunch of counters to have his Cerberus live and his Master live, like yeah. And then there's like some instances where you can have like a quick play setup with Celine and IP and like try to bounce during my turn. So like that's like the initial setup I've seen majority of these pure builds do. Just generate enough counters to have that set up. So anyways, mix IP, right? I'm like, oh, okay, so I'm dealing with a unicorn, right? So I'm like, oh damn, like that's gonna be kind of annoying. But luckily, I have an extensive hand that can extend quite a lot. But I'm thinking like I don't see a Cerberus, so I'm like, oh, I should be okay because he's just spell negate and a unicorn. That's what I'm thinking. Like he has a unicorn play and a spell trap negate, right? And he summons that, and I'm like, okay, what's that gonna? I was like, oh, okay, interesting. All right, there's that guy, and I'm like, this doesn't look too scary. Like it doesn't. Like I'm like this I can deal with this. This looks this should be fine. So then I go ahead and draw, and I draw Side Reflector. I'm like, oh my god, this is amazing. Although you have like two normal summons, right? Because this gets Sentinel, and then Sentinel's a normal summon. And then I guess you have this as, but this is the only thing that contradicts that bugs me is that this isn't for the rest of the turn. This is like for the entire turn. It's like Junk Speeder, where you're restricted to only Synchro summoning once you use this effect. So if you link summon, you can summon this, and that's really annoying. Like, oh my god. But anyways, I go ahead. I'm thinking like, okay, so I'm not really reading the cards. I know that this is a quick effect. So it's like there's no unicorn. So if I try to go for a Black Rose play, he's maybe gonna go into Avermax and like make it indestructible, or like something along those lines. And then I go tanky, and I thought he was in the gate with Master, but he activated something else. I was like, oh, okay. And then I read it. I was like, oh my god. Okay, so that's how he gets what's his face, Cerberus. So now he has a spell trap negate. He has a monster negate and a mask. And I'm like, okay, I gotta do this right. Like you could have a little bit of bluff, like a little bit of a bluff. A bluff play, right? But like this wasn't restrictive. This hand would have been amazing. So then I go ahead and I go one for one, trying to bait the Master, right? Just try to let him use it and see what he bounces. I go all effect and he goes fine. Okay, so at this point, okay, once it resolved, I'm like, okay, so I should be okay because I hard drew the beast, so this will give me the summon activate. So it doesn't matter that he negates the search on the summon, right? You see what I mean? Like it doesn't matter that he negates this, right? Like I use effect of Reflector, and then he goes he negates it with Cerberus, and I'm like, that should be fine because it's two effects to reveal. So I'm like, okay, so he has a quick effect Masquerada and a Spawn Trap negate. I don't really have any Spawn Trap negate, so that's completely irrelevant. The only thing I'm concerned about is this. The Masquerade. I was like, what's he gonna go into, Napalooza or something? So then I go ahead and then yeah, he pops it with Cerberus, right? And then I use effect, search the somewhat activate, And then I'm like, okay, so I can easily go into a Synchro level 8, but then I can't go to the Hulk. So that's when I was like kind of annoyed. Like, I was like, oh my god. So I was like, I can either do the Hulk play now or just nuke his board. And this is why you have to read their cards, because like I was like, oh my god, what was I thinking? What you see what I mean? Because I'm like, I got this. That should be fine. He lets it go through. It's like, okay. And then I ask him for anything on resolution, and he just doesn't do anything. And I'm like, okay. I'm thinking. So then I contemplate what I want to go into, either the Black Rose play, and I made it at level 6. So I was like, I'm kind of committed now, but I can still do the Hulk play, and I think I should have just gone for the Hulk play, because I go Black Rose, right? He chases Masquerena, and he has floating effects. I should have read, but I just didn't read. Because I was just thinking of like, okay, what can I do? I was more focused on what I wanted to do than what his cards did. So I was like, okay, that was completely bad on my part. So then I just set my I mean, I could have gone Stardust. I could have gone Stardust Dragon, right? I could have gone pitch this, make a Stardust, set this, and then make a Assault mode, and then have an Assault mode, right? But then I'm not sure how impactful that would be. And looking back at it now, he would have just negated it with Master, right? He would just negated the someone activate with Master. So I was like, nah, I'd rather just pass. And he draws a scale enough to Pendulum summon. I have a strike, but then he has Celine, so it didn't really matter. I'm like, well, okay, well, strike this, and then you use Celine effect, and that's more than enough for game. So I was like, what, dude? Oh my god. So we go to game 2, and I'm like, oh my god, this hand's amazing. Assuming he has Ash, right? And if he doesn't, then that should be fine, because that means it's resolving. Because like, you know, like unless he has Imperm Veiler, but I doubt this Pendulum deck has like any hand traps, because it needs every possible card that it needs to accomplish their end board, which is the Spell Trap Negate, Monster Negate, and the Bounce. Alright, so I go and semi-phase, because you want to dodge Veiler, right? So if he has Ash, I should be fine, because then I'll add and the Veiler misses anyways, you know? So there we go. So then I go for the Side Reflector, and at this point I'm like, you know what? Let's freaking go for it. I was just gonna end on a Stardust Dragon, and I'm like, nah, let's just go for the Hulk sequence, right? So I'll fast forward this, and this is where I added Plague, right? Look at that. Plague is Marger, brings back that. There's a blocker play, and this is where playing the level 1 is really important. Oh, the good thing about Plague as well is if you draw your Stardust sub modes, you can top deck it for Plague, and then use the Auroradon play, the Auroradon, and it'll shuffle your deck because you'll special them from your deck for the level 1 tuner. So then you won't draw the card you top deck, which is really, really good, and that was quite important the more I was testing this deck, right? So then I go ahead and this gets you the Librarian formula draw, right? Which is really good. You draw. I'm like, okay, cool. And then go for the Excel, and I draw into Fire Ant. I'm like, oh, that's not too good. I was like, oh, well, I guess, you know. So then I go, and then this is what. Okay. So before that, right? Instead of doing the getting an extra draw and playing Ultimaya, you could have just gone into Formula Synchro and trigger this guy's effect, because you made it with a machine, so you get a level 3 token. But then you're only restricted to summoning wins, but that's fine because you have 2 level 3 tokens and a level 2. So then you make Stardust Dragon, right? And then you'll be fine. You still draw a card. But what I noticed is that having the Ultimaya there, and the fact that you can just set and summon, is just so convenient. It's super convenient because you can just set and just summon another Stardust, and then it's just really convenient. It's just really, really cool. Okay, so then let me fast forward. Then I go ahead and set, right. I set summon Stardust. I set my Solemn and my Stardust Summon, and I was like, wait, I could just go for the freaking Savage as well. Well, I was like, okay, let's go for Savage. I was like, okay, cool. Savage effect, summon, right? And then I shotgun this, right? Because I was like, I need to have a negate because I don't want to just, you know. But I think I think I should have waited, right? I think I should have waited. Watch, you see what I mean? Cause look, I still in my Stardust Dragon mode, and he's thinking, like, he's like, oh no, and then he goes Dark Ruler. I was like, oh my god, that's so bad. Like, I mean, what am I gonna do? Like, I couldn't read, like, I couldn't expect him to, I guess, activate that, but I was like, in hindsight, I think I should have expected that. So then I was like, I should be fine. I have a Strike and I have a Gamma, so I should be okay, right? So then I resolves, it falls off, and he goes Battle Phase. I'm like, fuck! What the? Dark Ruler evenly? I was like, oh my god. So I was like, I'm not gonna let my Stardust just get banished face down. So I go ahead and just use the effect and tribute his cost. Nothing will happen. It'll just resolve negated. So I have to keep it, and I was debating whether to keep ultimaya or the Strike, but I was like, nah, it's better to keep my Strike and my Gamma, because then I have a follow up anyways. So yeah, that worked out perfectly, right? You'll see. Because I was like, Strike against Pendulum is just so good. Like, it's like it's just so like it's so huge because you get the entire Pendulum summon. Just amazing, right? So then he goes and links for this guy and tries to get like generate some resources, and then I just go Gamma, right? Because he's trying to search for the draw two and just trying to see what he can do. And I'm like, oh my god, I should be okay. Like, look at that. Then he just passes, and I'm like, oh my god. And then I go ahead and draw, and I draw a Strike. I'm like, oh my god. This is what I mean. This is how the deck's meant to function. Like, interact, only negate, interact, only negate. That's what it's meant to be doing. So then I go and I just go off and I just set up my my effect, right? Let me just pause this, right? And I just go for it. Like Stardust Dragon, and then set everything and then pass, and then I shotgun the thing again because I was like, let me just get out of the way because like he has one card to his name. If he uses Dark Ruler, it doesn't really matter. He has one card. I have double strike. I'm like, I should be okay. I was like, okay, no, there's no way. There's no way there's no way. And I let this go through because he can't even use the effect anyway. So I was like, okay. And then I was like, okay, that's fine. So then he just Pendulum summons. I should have just strike this. I was like, well, come on, like this could have ended the game sooner. Cause like then I go, I draw Judgment. I'm like, okay. So like this is the same thing. It's the same concept, same concept of strategy, right? Omni negate, interaction, right? That's the whole purpose of it. So then I go attack, and I have two strikes and a Judgment. Like, come on, like there's no way I'm losing this game, right? I'm like, there's no way. There's just no way, dude. And then he goes Pen Summon. I just strike this. I was like, I'm not gonna deal with that again. I'm just gonna get rid of it. And then I negate that as well. And then end phase comes back, Omni negate, and then I just go, okay, I drew this guy, but I already used the Fire Ant, so it's pretty useless. And then I forget that it's summoned in defense mode, so I was like, oh my god, I could have, like, you know, I wanted to just push for damage, but I guess it just gets it for next turn, so I can just push for game. But like, I don't think it really matters. Like, he hits it scooping. Okay, so we go to game 3, and this is where it gets hectic, man. Watch, you'll see what I mean. I'll let this guy sequence on his turn, cause like this hand is insane, man. The way it played out, it was just like perfect. Oh my god, it was like, okay, what do you think What do you think happened? Like, what do you guys think happened? Like, it was like, okay, you see evenly, you see Gamma, you already kind of assume what's gonna happen, right? So I'm like, okay, let's see where this goes. So then I go evenly, right? I chain Gamma. He doesn't negate with Mythical Beast, which is what I wanted to do, right? I wanted to go evenly, and then go and negate, and I go Gamma to prevent, you know. Then he doesn't bite. He doesn't negate it. So I was like, interesting, very very interesting. So I was like, okay. So he lets it resolve, right? And then in main phase 2, I synchro. I'm thinking whether I want to go Hulk play, but I was like, no, I can't do that because I could just make a Stardust, and then my Stardust Dragon negates anything that were to destroy. So it can negate Jackal. I'm like, oh my god, it's so good. But then he summons this damn thing. I'm like, what the fuck does that even do? And then I was like, it just it bounces a card by removing 3 counters. I was like, oh my god, my Stardust Dragon is not gonna help me. But then I'm like, oh my god, what the hell is he doing now? Celine? What the hell is Celine gonna do? He just summoned that. I'm like, oh my god, he's just swarming me. So I'm thinking like, okay, what the hell is he gonna summon now? Is he gonna summon another like another negator? So he just spawn trap negate, a monster negate, and I'm like, oh my god. But the main one that I'm concerned about is the monster negate, okay? And then I'm like, okay, let's go for it. And this is why Gamma is amazing in his deck. It's amazing, right? I go effect, tribute for cost, and then he goes boom, boom, and then oh my god. Look at that Gamma twice in one turn. Oh my god, he didn't expect that. Like, no one can expect 2 Gammas in one turn, especially because like you don't really, that's not really a common thing. You just resolve one, and then unless you're playing side frames, then it doesn't really matter, you know? Especially one driver, okay, yeah, that's not likely. Normally it's banished, but like I ended up resolving it, and I'm like, oh my god, this is so cool. So then I go ahead and use the effect, and I have the somewhat activate. Let me just fast forward this. I have the somewhat activate, and at this point I'm like, I'll just Black Rose, because like I could do the Hulk sequence, but like it doesn't really do anything apart from him having his beater still. So then I tried to just nuke his board, right? And I was like, and then I'll follow it up the following turn, right? So Lopez Field, he keeps Celine, and he keeps thing, and I'm like, hopefully he doesn't top tick any complete scales, right? Because then otherwise I'm in trouble. But that's like the best case scenario, I think, because otherwise I would have ended on I think it would have been, I think, a double Stardust and a Savage, but he would still have all of his monsters on the field. And I already used my battle phase. I don't know, I felt really I don't know. It felt really awkward leaving them on the field. So then he draws. He doesn't draw anything. I'm like, okay, cool. Attack 1850. I'm fine with that. And I'm like, oh my god, I just started a sun mode. Like, you don't really want to do that, but like at this point, I'm like, okay, let's go for it. I go for the standard play, right? I add that because I already have the somewhat activate, so there's no point in doing it, right? So then right now, I'm like, I'm not gonna go for it. I'm just gonna go for it. Like I have to go. I have to go for broke because I need to just overwhelm him, right? And this is what the sequence is amazing because it lets you draw so much. Like, watch it play it out. Look at that. Boom, 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 boom. Fast forward. Okay, see, that's what I mean. You top tick the assault mode, right? And then because when you use the effect of Auroradon, you'll shuffle your deck because you can special summon, and that's huge, right? And I go Librarian, draw 2, and I draw it again either way. I'm like, what the fuck? Are you kidding me? And I summon Stardust. Like, this is why it's so good. You just summon a dragon after turn. And I didn't read his damn his damn this guy. I could have just Dark Looter and Ward him now and then attacked it. I was like, what was that? What did I do? Like, that was, oh my god, that was like, actually, you have to read your cards, but sometimes you just get a bit lazy. You just don't want to read the cards. Like, okay. So then I go and passes, and then I shotgun the thing again because I have to have a Omni Negate ready, right? And then I go, I summon and start a summon mode, and he goes battle phase, right? Attacks my guy, it dies, and he passes, and I'm like, oh, this is over. This is over. Like, this is way over. Like, I have 2 starter summon modes. There's no way. I have the Dark Lunar More to just kill that thing, right? I should be fine. Like, there's no way I'm losing this game. Like, look at this. 2 Omni Negates, right? So then he goes Instant Fusion, and I'm like, he has 2 cards left. What the heck is he gonna summon off Instant Fusion? Maybe 1,000 Eyes? 1,000? Maybe he doesn't it? I don't know. Millennium Eyes? Maybe? I don't know. So then he goes, he activates Unnegated. So I have 1 more Omni Negate. He activates he activates Spell Power Mastery, and I'm like, he has 1 card left in hand. Like, 1 card. What the heck could that be? So I just negate this, and I'm on 6150, right? And I'm like, oh my god, this is where it's kind of critical because like you're left wide open, and they're pretty beefy guys, right? He has pretty beefy guys. Look at this. They're pretty beefy, man. So it gets kind of scary. You know, you're getting too close to comfort. So then I negate, and he completes scale. I was like, oh my god. I mean, not complete scale. I mean, he has the 3rd spell to trigger his Magister, and I'm like, Oh my god, did I just freaking lose after having 2 Omni negates? Like, what am I gonna do? I was like, what the hell am I gonna do? And it just goes battle phase, and I'm like, oh, okay, I'm still alive. I should be fine. And then 1850, right? And then at the end of battle phase, I use the evenly, and he bounces a card, right? And then I'm like, I was like, my 2 Omnis come back, and then I'm like trying to see like, is there any way he can live? And then I'm like, this is over. This is over, man. And then I just go off and just go beatdown mode. Just go beatdown mode. Negate the effect, attack. Look at that. And there it is. Look at that. What are you gonna do? That was freaking crazy. Those gamma plays were insane. I'm gonna do the deck profile later on in the week because I have the entire deck in real life. So I'll show you guys the deck profile then, because this is so cool. I really liked it, but I'm not sure if I'm going to be changing the Dawnwalkers because they're so helpful though. That's the thing. They're so helpful. They make the deck more consistent, but it sucks when you have the contradiction of what you want to do, the Hulk sequence, or you want to just make a Stardust Dragon. Yeah, I don't know, man. Hopefully you enjoyed the video. Let's subscribe if you haven't, and thanks for watching.